The $95 Chase Sapphire Preferred versus the $95 Citi Strata Premier. They both have the same annual fee, so what's the big difference, right? In this video, we'll be going over exactly what we need to know about both of these cards to understand, are either of these cards worth the spot in our wallet, and maybe even both of them. So with that, let's get straight into it. At the time of recording, the sign-up bonus for the Chase Sapphire Preferred is elevated from its normal offer of 60,000 points up to 75,000 points after 5K in minimum spend in the first 3 months. And in cashback, with Chase's ecosystem, you can redeem these points at 1 penny a point. So that 75K points is worth exactly $750 worth of cash back. There's multiple ways to redeem these points and more optimal ways. And with the Citi Strata Premier, on the other hand, having a 60,000 bonus point offer after $4,000 minimum spend in the first 3 months. At certain times, though, this bonus has also been seen to go up to that 75K threshold. In today's landscape, everyone and their mother's pushing their internal travel portal, where on the Chase side, when you're spending with the Chase Sapphire Preferred, we're looking at 5x points for each and every dollar spent. So whether that's rental cars, airlines, hotels, cruises, or other travel experiences that you can book through the portal, we're looking at 5 points back for each dollar. Where on the flip side, with the Citi Strata Premier, we're looking at 10x points. 10x versus 5x sounds like the Citi Strata Premier is ahead. Yet it depends how you redeem these points. Because today, if it was just cash, 75K points is equal to $750 in pure cashback value with the Chase Sapphire Preferred. Yet with the Citi Strata Premier, there's an upcoming change at the time of recording in around a couple months from now, where your cash back that you're going to redeem, for example, with every 100,000 points, generally that would be $1,000 worth of cash. Yet with the Citi Strata Premier coming up, it's going to be 0.75 cents per point. In other words, 100,000 points would mean only $750 worth of cash. Both of these cards are meant for someone who travels more than not, and they both have no foreign transaction fees. Coming to more of our earning categories, when we're spending with both of these cards, we're looking at 3 times points earned per dollar spent in the category of dining. This includes restaurants, Uber Eats, DoorDash, all the takeout delivery eligible services as well. When it comes to general travel purchases, the Chase Sapphire Preferred offers us 2x points on each dollar spent in basically anything that counts as travel. So whether that's paying for tolls, paying for parking, those type of items, those are included as well. Where with the Citi Strata Premier, we're looking at 3 times points per dollar spent, but not in just general travel. It's going to be very specific to airfare and hotels. Yet on the same element of travel, we're also looking at 3 times points with the Strata Premier on gas stations and EV charging. And from there, with the Chase Sapphire Preferred, we're looking at 3x on each and every dollar spent for online groceries specifically, where with the Strata Premier, we are looking at 3x for supermarket spend. Basically, it sounds like an inverse difference per se, but with the Chase Sapphire Preferred, if you walk into a supermarket, you're not going to be getting that 3x for sure. There are certain ways around it where you can load up, let's say, your credit card onto a certain supermarket app, and so when that transaction happens, it could be counted as an online grocery transaction, but not the scope of this video. And finally, one more category with the Chase Sapphire Preferred is we're looking at 3x points on select streaming services spend, and 1x everywhere else with both of these cards. So if we're spending 95 bucks in either case with these cards, what are some credits that they offer us to make it make sense in the longer term after the year 1 sign-up bonus? And other than just spending and spending and spending and doing the math of, oh, hey, I earned this many points and this is how much annual fee I paid. So did I break even? Did I come out ahead? So what does this look like? With the Chase Sapphire Preferred, it seems like quite a few benefits, but it's really going to have to make sense based on what your actual lifestyle looks like. So starting off, the partner benefits I'm going to go over, they do change kind of every couple of years, whether it's the partner or whether the specific number of points earned. So here we go. The first one's going to be to DoorDash, and it's actually 2 different types of credits. One is going to be 120 bucks in value given to us, which is going to be towards their membership, which allows us, let's say, free delivery or discounts on certain orders and other just promotions by just being a member of DoorDash. And then we have another 120 bucks in credits to DoorDash, which are going to be distributed in $10 monthly increments. And it's going to be specifically for orders towards groceries or retail type of purchases through DoorDash, not for food. And to be specific, when I mean food, I mean restaurant spend. We're also looking at 5x points for each and every dollar spent with Lyft and 5x on each and every purchase with Peloton on orders that are above 150 bucks. On paper with the Chase Sapphire Preferred, we're looking at 240 bucks in official credits And then depending on how much you spend on Lyft or Peloton, you could be looking at earning that many more points. In addition to these partner benefits, there's also a $50 hotel credit to be used specifically through Chase's travel portal. So when you do that math of $95 annual fee, you're getting back, let's say, $50 in value. And there are many, many data points saying that the Chase travel portal is more expensive than going through other means. But brass tacks, you look at the basics. Okay, $95 minus $50 means we're effectively paying, let's say, $45 out of pocket. And then if you get, let's say, 6 months out of the year, advantage of these DoorDash kind of benefits, or if you're spending with Lyft/Peloton, then you could be coming out ahead of the annual fee without even spending on the primary earning categories with the Chase Sapphire Preferred. Comparing the $50 Chase hotel travel credit to be used through their internal travel portal with the Citi Strata Premier side, this is what it looks like. Instead of $50, we're looking at $100 credit with the Citi Strata Premier. But here's the caveat. We get this $100, but it's going to be given back to us when we're spending $500 or more, excluding taxes and fees, on citytravel.com. Basically needing to book in either which case through the issuer's travel portal. Right before we get to the unique selling points of each of these cards, where it really makes sense to have one over the other, there's one specific feature, you could say, with the Chase Sapphire Preferred, where you're getting a 10% back on points earned. Essentially bonus points, where the example is, let's just say you spend 50 grand in a year on your Chase Sapphire Preferred. 10% of $50,000 at 1 point per dollar spent is basically going to be an extra bonus of 5,000 points earned. So although that 5,000 points can be $50 worth of cash, and if you combine that with the $50 hotel credit with the Chase Sapphire Preferred, that looks like, oh, I got $100 back, so it negates the annual fee. But the big asterisk here is you have to spend basically that much on this card, whether that's part of your normal lifestyle or in general if you have to strategize about it. The Citi Strata Premier is a MasterCard, while the Chase Sapphire Preferred is a Visa card. The reason this matters is really when it comes down to the travel and purchase coverages that you're getting through both of these cards, it's really going to come down to that main difference. Both of these cards are intended for travel. Hence, the way we redeem these points in an optimal fashion is going to be transferring out to partners. And the main difference is really going to come down to who do you want to travel with, or what are your travel plans and this type of thing, because the partners for both of them are different. The main thing I would say, in my opinion, is that there's also shared partners. In other words, whether it's Citi or Chase's program, you have Virgin Atlantic, Chris Flyer Miles, which is Singapore Airlines, and you also have Air France/KLM, which is a part of the Flying Blue program. And so what this means is you could be earning points for, if you optimize for these airlines specifically with both of these cards. But the big thing I want to share with us is that there are certain times where there's a multiplier, where it's like, hey, a points transfer bonus. If you transfer points within a certain period, then you'll get, let's say, a 50% boost, a 70% boost, what have us. And so in those key timeframes, even though you're earning, let's say, a similar earn rate between both cards, right? In the end, you could be getting a lot more output value after the fact. Within the travel redemption space, if you know, you know, but basically you don't need to actually transfer your points to one specific program to then book a flight with that airline. In other words, there's alliances that exist. So a good example is with Citi, Cathay Pacific is a transfer partner, where if you look at Chase's side, it doesn't exist. But if you want to book a Cathay Pacific flight, if you just look at that alliance, so it's the One World Alliance, in other words, let's say American Airlines, Cathay Pacific, and then we have British Airways. So because British, aka Avios Miles, is a partner with Chase, you could still potentially find the same flight on British Airways' website for that same Cathay Pacific actual flight. On the hotel side, there's 3 transfer partners for Chase and Citi, but they're different. On the Chase side, they're more popular names such as IHG, Marriott, and Hyatt. And in the industry, it's common knowledge that Hyatt and the points in terms of how far they could stretch, that's going to give you pretty much max value. In other words, that 75,000 bonus in cash is $750 on the Chase side, but in terms of Hyatt, we're looking at 2 cents per point, which in English is basically saying, hey, 75,000 points instead of 750 cash, it's like $1,500 or more in terms of that hotel value you could be redeeming. On the Citi side, we're looking at Wyndham, Choice, and Accor. And in general, at a very high level, depending on how you want to redeem your points, the ratios of transfers to these programs is usually 1-to-1 for the most part on the Chase side. But when it comes to Citi, they're also 1-to-1, but there's a few asterisks. So definitely just, Google/otherwise before you're actually transferring your points over to these programs, because once you transfer, whether it's Citi or Chase or other issuers to these external programs, there's not really a way to just like, oh, let me go to that, site where I transfer them to bring it back into my Chase account or back into my Citi account, etc. So after all of this, which one's a better card? I would say it's going to come down to a few crucial points. With the Citi Strata Premier, we're looking at that $100 back on that singular one time a year $500 or more hotel booking, which excludes the taxes and fees when we're doing it through citytravel.com. If you are this user, then you're already going to get back that $100. So it kind of negates that annual fee. But that's more the mathematical reasoning. If we look at the actual output of what are our points worth, if you're going to redeem these points for pure cash, then a couple months from now, from the time of recording, this, let's say you have 100,000 points, it's only going to be worth, let's say, $750 in cash. And in general, if you were looking at the Citi Strata Premier as a cashback card, there's a lot of other cashback, especially no annual fee cards, where you don't even need to balance any of this and you're going to come out ahead. On the flip side, with the Chase Sapphire Preferred, if you're going to be using DoorDash, even let's say 6 months out of the year, so you're getting, let's say, $60 in value, and that's assuming you have $0 assigned to the Dash Pass, aka being a member of DoorDash kind of value that they're providing to us. And let's say you're spending, minimally or so with Lyft or in Peloton, even if you make $0 in purchases, when you combine, let's say, $60 in DoorDash value and $50 in terms of hotel credit to be used specifically on the Chase Travel Portal, then that's $110, let's say, right, on a $95 annual fee. So there you're already coming out ahead as well. So the big headline, in my opinion, is how are you redeeming your points? Where on the Chase side, you have the flexibility of 1 penny a point redemption. So again, same example, you have 100,000 points. That's $1,000 in cash versus $750. And there's a special question I always ask other folks who are into credit cards. What would you take if you have 5 million points? Cash back or travel? And 5 million points in cash back is $50,000 cold hard cash, which you can do, a lot of things, if not many, many more things, right? Whether that's investments or just spending it or blowing it or actually using it to travel once more. So in the end, for me, not to have the flexibility personally with the Citi Strata Premier to have that cashback kind of default or backup option, that's a big no-go for me. And especially after year one, after the bonus, and just the type of person in terms of my spending profile for hotels, it's going to be the Chase Sapphire Preferred if I was forced to choose one. And the biggest thing being Hyatt hotels and their redemptions, just can't beat them. And I'm a super duper major #1 fan of everything Hyatt hotels. In other words, Chase points to transfer to their program and then take it forward. The Chase Sapphire Preferred has a $95 annual fee versus its big brother, the Chase Sapphire Reserve, having a $795 annual fee. And to see that comparison within its own Chase ecosystem of is the Chase Sapphire preferred, no pun intended, versus the Reserve, check out this video over here, and I'll see you there.